now I want to slow down and I want to talk solely about Saturn in Purva Bhadrapada. So Saturn entered Purva Bhadrapada technically on April 6, 2024, and now it is finally retrograded back in Purva Bhadrapada. So it's technically going to be there from October 3rd till January 18th, but it's only going to be retrograde until Thanksgiving. The last 30-year cycle of Saturn in Purva Bhadrapada was in 1995, during the buildup of the dot-com bubble. The internet existed as more of a whisper in everyday life. If you remember back in 1995, 1996, I certainly do. It was hyped in headlines, but it really wasn't integrated that much into routines. You know, we weren't walking around with the internet in our hands like we do now with our phones. This was also a year of major breakthroughs in technology and commerce. Microsoft launched Windows 95, and that pretty much changed the name of the game. So more people were buying PCs into their home. And at the same time, this is when eBay launched, right? I know, one of the first basically e-commerce websites. Now there are tons of them, but eBay was one of the first. It was out there and it's still around today. Also, during this time in 1995 to 1996, there was one of the biggest political shifts in the decades. You know, it happened during the 1994 midterms. Republicans broke a 40-year streak of Democrat dominance in Congress. And by January 1995, they had taken control of both the House and the Senate for the first time since the 1950s. This was the first time in 40 years, basically, as I said, the Republicans had unified a national agenda. That really wasn't a thing before. You know, the Republicans were a little bit split. But they were able to flip Congress because they came together and they were like, hey, this is our plan. This is our goal. Kind of like now. I thought that it was interesting that a lot of this basically Republican dominance that happened last time when you had Saturn and Purva Bhadrapada happened the same time here again. Last time Saturn was in Purva Bhadrapada, Americans were optimistic about tech, but mistrustful about the government. Now with Saturn here again, we see the same mix. We have a lot of optimism towards AI, against the backdrop of basically a lot of mistrust in the government and institutions. Another thing that happened, Match.com launched in 1995, you know, one of the first internet dating sites. It's crazy because it shows like the hints of the future. This new way of dating that was coming on that no one could really predict, because now online dating is the #1 way that people meet their significant others.